Good morning, students. We were talking about some important chemical reactions of p-block elements. We have covered general reasoning questions and we have covered important chemical reactions of xenon fluorine compounds and chlorine. Now, the next one is your very important inorganic compound, that is ammonia, which is called NH3. On large scale or on industrial scale, ammonia is prepared by Haber's process, where N2 is made to react with 3H2 gas under suitable conditions and catalyst to form ammonia with the release of energy. The reaction is in equilibrium with the product and reactant side. So if reaction is exhibiting equilibrium state, then by using Le-Chatelier's principle, we can shift the reaction to product side or we can shift the reaction to backward side. So according to Le-Chatelier's principle, if we want to maximize the yield of ammonia, then required condition will be low temperature, because here the reaction is exothermic in nature, energy is released. For all exothermic reactions, low temperature is favorable. And if we compare the number of moles on product and reactant side, then towards product side number of moles are less. So whenever number of moles are less, then reaction is favorable by high pressure. And if we increase the concentration of N2 and H2, definitely they will combine and form ammonia. So to maximize the yield of ammonia, we require high concentration of reactant, that is N2 and H2, low temperature and high pressure. And or takes place in Haber's process. Then comes about the properties. Ammonia is the third most electronegative element of the periodic table. And H is there in the molecule. It means conditions are possible for H bonding. So between the ammonia molecules, H bonding is there. Or we can say ammonia molecules are associated via H bonding, and that's why its physical state is liquid at room temperature. Like water. Like hydrogen fluoride. And due to H bonding, its melting point and boiling point are very high. So there is intermolecular association between ammonia molecules via H bonding, and that's why its physical state is liquid at room temperature. And presence of H bonding is responsible for high melting and boiling point of ammonia. Then comes its solubility in water. It is highly soluble in water. Why it is soluble? A simple concept is there. If a compound or a gas undergoes chemical combination with water, then such gases are highly soluble in water. Based on same grounds, we can write ammonia reacts with H2O and forms ionic compound NH4OH, which is called ammonium ion. As it reacts with water and forms ammonium hydroxide, that's why ammonia is highly soluble in water. The next point, over nitrogen atom, we have a lone pair of electrons. Nitrogen belongs to group 15 or 5th A. There are 5 valence electrons. 3 electrons are involved in sharing with the hydrogen atom. Remaining 2 are present in the form of lone pair of electrons. So whenever lone pair of electrons is present over the central atom, then such compound or molecules can act as Lewis base. They can donate their lone pair or they can donate their electron pair. So all the species which can donate their electron pair are treated as Lewis base. Lewis base can react with Lewis acids. So cations of d block contains vacant d orbitals. There they can accommodate lone pair of electrons. So metallic ions from d block acts as Lewis acid. So definitely there will be a chemical reaction or there will be bond formation between ammonia and metallic ions from d block. So if we see the reaction, copper sulfate gives you Cu plus 2 ion. Due to presence of Cu plus 2 ion in copper sulfate is having blue color. When ammonia is added, this blue color is converted to deep blue color because Cu plus 2 ion gets converted to a complex ion, that is tetraamine copper copper first ion. It will be plus 2. It will be plus 2. So due to formation of this complex ion, it will form a deep blue color. Then we have next one, AgCl is insoluble in water. Suppose in a chemical reaction AgCl is formed. Being an insoluble compound, it will form PPT. This color is white, so we will obtain white precipitate. But if the same AgCl is made to react with ammonia, or the PPT is dissolved, the PPT is added to ammonia, then this PPT gets dissolved. What's the reason? Presence of Ag plus and Cl minus is responsible for white precipitate. If somehow we can remove Ag plus ion, or if Ag plus ions are absent, then it will not form precipitate. So this ammonia donates its lone pair to vacant orbital of Ag plus ion and gets converted to diamine silver first ion. Now Ag plus ion is not available for Cl minus. We have obtained a complex ion, and this complex ion is soluble in water. This complex ion is soluble in ammonia. So as white PPT on reaction with ammonia forming a complex ion, that's why AgCl is soluble in ammonia. Then we have next important compound, that is nitric acid, HNO3, a strong oxidizing agent, because nitrogen is having +5 oxidation state in HNO3 by rule. If the central atom is exhibiting its maximum oxidation state, then it will act as a strong oxidizing agent. So here HNO3 acts as a strong oxidizing agent. How it is prepared? On large scale or on industrial scale, it is prepared by Ostwald process. Ostwald process completes in 3 steps. Step number 1 is oxidation of ammonia in presence of catalyst. As a catalyst, we are using platinum and rhodium metal. So step 1 is catalytic air oxidation of ammonia. So when ammonia is made to react with oxygen from air in presence of platinum and rhodium at a temperature of 500 Kelvin and a pressure of 9 bar, we get nitrogen monoxide with water. In next step, this NO will undergo oxidation, simple oxidation, and as a result of simple oxidation, we will obtain NO2, nitrogen dioxide. This NO2 gas is made to dissolve in H2O, as a result of which we obtain HNO3 and NO is obtained again. So 3 steps. Step 1, oxidation of ammonia. Step 2, oxidation of NO. And step number 3, dissolution of NO2 in water. In this manner, we will prepare HNO3 nitric acid, and the method is called Ostwald dilution process. Then about the properties. I told you earlier, it acts as a strong oxidizing agent. It oxidizes metals to nitrate salts. With the release of oxides of nitrogen. So what will happen? Copper when made to react with HNO3 will form copper nitrate, will form oxide of nitrogen, will form water. Copper with HNO3 will form copper nitrate, oxide of nitrogen and water. If we use zinc with HNO3, zinc will be converted to zinc nitrate, then oxide of nitrogen and water. Zinc with HNO3, zinc nitrate, oxides of nitrogen and release of water. Condition applied. If we use dilute HNO3 with copper, then 3 moles of copper reacts with 8 moles of nitric acid to gives you 3 moles of cupric nitrate with formation of nitrogen monoxide and 4 molecules of water. NO is formed. With concentrated, we will be getting NO2 in both sides. So copper with concentrated HNO3 gives you copper nitrate, 2 moles of NO2, nitrogen dioxide and 2 moles of H2. If zinc is used in dilute condition, we will be obtaining nitrous oxide N2, which is also called laughing gas. So in dilute condition, 4 moles of zinc reacts with 10 moles of HNO3, giving you 4 moles of zinc nitrate, N2O and 5 molecules of H2 if it is concentrated HNO3. Then with zinc, we get zinc nitrate. NO2 will be formed if acid is concentrated. And 2 molecules of water will be released. So it can oxidize metals like copper and zinc to nitrates with the release of oxides of nitrogen in the form of gas, and water is also formed. It can also oxidize non-metals like carbon, iodine, phosphorus and sulfur. What we will get? If carbon is used, we get carbon dioxide, but with other non-metals, we will be getting oxoacids of that particular non-metal. In all the cases, NO2 will be there. NO2 is there and H2 will be there. Now how the reaction takes place? Carbon reacts with 4 moles of HNO3. Remember, with carbon 4, with iodine 10, with phosphorus 20 HNO3 and with sulfur it will be 48 HNO3. Ci2P4 acid. Remember the number 4, 10, 20, 48. It is required so that we can balance the product side. Otherwise, hit and trial method is not applicable. So we have to remember the balancing mole here. So carbon gives you CO2 with H2O and NO2. Here balancing moles for HNO3 are 4. So by the help of this number, stoichiometric coefficient, we can balance the reactant side, product side, sorry. With I2 it is 10 HNO3 and I will be oxidized to HiO3, which is called iodic acid. Its OH is 0 and here OH for I is +5. With this you will be getting H2 and NO2, it is always there. Balancing mole is 10, HNO3 towards reactant side. So by the help of 10 moles of HNO3 we can balance the product side. When phosphorus is there, it is 20 moles of HNO3. Phosphorus gets converted to phosphoric acid H3PO4 where OH of P is +5. H2 is there, NO2 is there. How many moles of HNO3? 20. By the help of this mole, we can balance the product side, and when sulfur is there, it will be 48 HNO3. Please, you have to remember the balancing mole on reactant side. Otherwise, hit and trial method is not applicable. Because reaching up to 48 is really difficult, it's time consuming. So acid with 48 HNO3 gives you oxoacids of sulfur, that is sulfuric acid H2SO4 and water and NO2. Here HNO3 used 48. So according to this number we can balance the product side. In this manner we have to remember the reactions of NH3 and HNO3. That's all for today. Thank you.